1962 Halloween massacre is a haunting legend that chills the soul. Shrouded in mystery and darkness, the story revolves around a single horrifying photograph taken at a seemingly innocent Halloween costume party. The photo, which has circulated through the years, shows a group of people laughing and dancing, unaware of the unspeakable horror that would soon unfold. According to the legend, what the photo doesn't show is the bloodbath that followed. The guests, 7 in total, were allegedly slaughtered that night, their bodies mutilated beyond recognition. Some say the killer was hiding among them, cloaked in costume, blending into the revelry. The massacre, though, was too brutal, too grotesque for anyone to believe. Whispers claim that the killer was never caught, and that the picture itself holds a dark secret, a silent witness to the horror. The photograph is said to be cursed. Anyone who looks too long at it, or even dares to search for it, may feel an overwhelming sense of dread, as though the spirits of the victims are watching, waiting for justice. To this day, no one knows the full truth behind the 1962 Halloween massacre, and perhaps it's better that way. Some horrors are best left in the dark.
In the chilling legend of the Buckley family, an old, grainy photograph captures a haunting moment that still terrifies those who see it. The black and white image shows 2 children, a boy and a girl, standing eerily still, their faces expressionless, eyes empty and dark. But beneath this innocent appearance lies a sinister tale, a Halloween night turned nightmare. According to the legend, the Buckley children were quiet and reserved, hardly ever speaking to anyone but each other. On one Halloween night, however, their mother mysteriously disappeared. Neighbours grew suspicious, noticing that the house remained dark and silent, an unsettling quiet hovering over it. Days later, the truth was discovered in a twisted, horrific scene, their mother's body hidden away, with chilling evidence suggesting that the children had murdered her in cold blood. When questioned, the Buckley children claimed they did it for fun, their voices chillingly devoid of remorse. The police could find no rational motive, only a dark emptiness in the children's eyes, a void that seemed to stare right back at them, leaving officers uneasy. It's said that the Buckley children were taken away, their fate unknown, but the photograph remained, a disturbing reminder of that night. Some say that if you look into the children's eyes for too long, you'll feel an inexplicable darkness creeping over you, as though their eerie, hollow stare is reaching out, threatening to pull you into their twisted world. To this day, that haunting image is said to resurface occasionally, appearing in random places, as if the Buckley children are still watching, waiting, perhaps seeking a new victim to haunt. Those who've seen it say the cold, empty stare never leaves them, a terrifying reminder of innocence twisted into something monstrous, lingering just beyond the frame. In the fog-laden town of Exeter, Rhode Island, the terrifying tale of Mercy Brown still lingers, casting shadows over history. In the winter of 1892, young Mercy died from a brutal case of tuberculosis, then known as consumption. But even death couldn't silence her story. Not long after her burial, rumours spread like wildfire. Her family too was falling mysteriously ill, wasting away as though something sinister was siphoning the life from them. Driven by fear, townsfolk began to suspect that Mercy was no ordinary victim of disease. They whispered that she had returned from the grave as a vampire, a malevolent spirit consuming her family's life essence from beyond. Desperate to end the curse, they resolved to perform a grim ritual, exhuming her body from the frozen ground. When they opened her coffin, they found her shockingly well preserved, her skin pale but intact, her nails and hair seemingly grown, and her heart still containing fresh blood. Panic gripped them. They believed she was feeding, her undead spirit reaching from the grave. In a macabre attempt to end her hold over the living, they cut out her heart and liver, burning them to ash in a desperate ritual meant to destroy her lingering influence. The ashes were mixed into a tonic and given to her ailing brother, in hopes that drinking it would break the deadly connection Mercy held over him. But some say that Mercy's spirit did not rest after this ritual. Locals claim to see her figure drifting through the cemetery at dusk, her pale face visible in the moonlight, watching silently as if waiting for her next victim. Others report a suffocating chill in the air near her grave, an unnatural cold that wraps around them like icy hands. Even today, Mercy Brown's grave remains, a chilling reminder of superstition and desperation. Visitors say that if you stand near her grave at night, you can feel her presence, an overwhelming sense of sorrow and vengeance, a ghostly whisper from a past that refuses to be buried. Her legend endures as a reminder of how fear and folklore can reach out from the grave, grasping at the living with cold, relentless hands. empty, silent halls of Raynham Hall in Norfolk, England, a chilling figure is said to linger, the Brown Lady, a ghostly apparition clad in a faded brown gown. She drifts through the darkened corridors, her presence felt in the sudden chill that fills the room, a sensation so bone deep it leaves an icy imprint on the soul of anyone who crosses her path. For centuries, tales of her restless spirit have haunted Raynham Hall, each story more spine-chilling than the last. The Brown Lady is believed to be Lady Dorothy Walpole, whose tragic end left her spirit bound to the hall. The story goes that she was locked away by her jealous husband, condemned to spend her days alone, and she eventually succumbed to despair and illness, her life extinguished within those very walls. Now her tormented soul lingers, forever roaming the home she could never leave in life. Witnesses describe her appearance as both beautiful and terrifying. She glides through the halls with an ethereal grace, her hollow eyes sunken and empty, her face twisted in a mournful expression. It is said, her eyes are nothing but dark voids, empty of life, drawing those who meet her gaze into an endless sorrow. Her brown dress, old-fashioned and tattered, seems almost to meld with the shadows, making her a faint, flickering figure who vanishes as suddenly as she appears. One of the most infamous sightings occurred in 1936, when photographers from Country Life magazine captured a hazy, spectral figure descending the grand staircase. The photograph, grainy and eerie, shows her drifting down the stairs, her form nearly translucent yet unmistakable. This image became one of the most well-known ghost photographs in history, cementing the Brown Lady's terrifying legend. Visitors and staff at Raynham Hall still report encounters with her cold, haunting presence. Doors creak open without reason, and the echoes of footsteps are heard when no one is there. Some say that late at night, a faint figure can be seen moving slowly down the staircase, her shadowy form slipping away before she reaches the bottom, as if forever trapped in a sorrowful descent. The legend of the Brown Lady endures, a chilling reminder of loss and entrapment. Those who dare to visit Raynham Hall are warned to be vigilant, for a glimpse of her ghostly form is enough to haunt them for a lifetime. In the mist-shrouded town of Cannon Beach, where the coastal fog blankets the landscape, locals share a chilling tale of the Bandage Man. They say he was once a logger, a man hardened by years of grueling labour, but fate twisted his life in a nightmarish direction when a brutal accident at the sawmill left him shredded, his body mangled by spinning blades, flesh torn and bones splintered. The legend tells of his agonising screams that echoed long after the sawdust settled, his body cloaked in blood-soaked bandages, clinging to life before death finally claimed him. Yet death did not bring him peace. No, it bound him to the land, cursed to wander the coastal roads and woods, an undying shadow of suffering and rage. Locals claim that the Bandage Man haunts the old logging roads, reeking of decay and vengeance, waiting to unleash his fury on unsuspecting travellers who dare cross his path. On a cold, moonless night, two teenagers named Lisa and Mark drove up to a secluded lookout on the cliff, their laughter carrying through the still night. They parked, content with each other's company and the eerie quiet surrounding them. But as they leaned in close, the car suddenly shook, as if struck by an unseen force. Startled, Mark scanned the darkness, his pulse quickening. Nothing but fog and shadow met his gaze. Then came a stench, the foul, sickly odour of rotting flesh and mould. It seeped into the car like an omen. Suddenly, from the corner of her eye, Lisa spotted a movement. A figure lumbering toward them, wrapped head to toe in filthy, blood-streaked bandages, his form twitching with unnatural jerks. His eyes glowed faintly beneath the layers, glinting with a twisted fury as he dragged his broken body closer, closer. Mark slammed the car into reverse, his hands trembling on the wheel. The bandage man reached the vehicle, clawing at the doors with cracked, bloodied fingers, smearing the glass with sticky red streaks. His muffled grunts turned to frenzied snarls as he pounded, each strike heavier, filled with unspeakable malice. His bandages hung loose, revealing glimpses of torn flesh and exposed bone beneath. Mark and Lisa's screams filled the car as he threw the vehicle into drive, tyres squealing as they sped down the winding road. But the bandage man didn't relent. He clung to the bumper, his bandaged face pressed against the rear window, eyes locked with theirs, as if daring them to look away. His grip grew stronger, pulling himself up inch by inch, his bandages trailing behind like gruesome streamers. With a final, desperate turn, Mark swerved off the main road, nearly careening into the forest as the car skidded to a halt. They waited, breath held, but the bandage man had vanished, his rotting scent lingering like a ghostly reminder. They dared not speak as they drove back to town, only to realise later that the windows bore streaks of dried blood and faint, hand-shaped smears. The townsfolk say that if you're driving alone on foggy nights and catch a whiff of that deathly odour, it means the bandage man is near, and he won't stop until he claws his way into the car, claiming anyone unfortunate enough to cross his path, dragging them into his endless nightmare of pain and rage, bound forever by his bandages of blood. On the bleak and brooding moors of Exmoor, a sinister legend prowls under the cover of fog, the Beast of Exmoor. This shadowy creature, said to be a massive panther-like cat, has haunted Devon and Somerset for decades, stalking the hillsides with predatory stealth and leaving a haunting sense of dread among those who dare to wander alone. The sightings began with strange, gutted livestock, sheep and cattle left torn and bloodied in the fields, their bodies shredded as if by claws, both powerful and merciless. Farmers spoke in hushed voices of a creature with pitch-black fur and glowing amber eyes, a beast whose presence seemed to darken even the coldest nights. With the agility of a ghost, the beast slipped in and out of the shadows, its massive form almost invisible against the wild, rugged landscape. The few who glimpsed it reported an eerie silence, a predatory stillness that filled the air just before they spotted a flicker of movement, a sleek shadow stalking through the mist. The beast's piercing gaze and sleek, muscular form struck terror into anyone unfortunate enough to catch sight of it. Hunters and locals formed search parties, eager to rid Exmoor of its phantom predator. They scoured the moors, rifles in hand, yet the creature always evaded capture, leaving only clawed imprints in the damp earth and lingering, blood-curdling growls in the distance. Today, the legend of the beast of Exmoor endures. When the fog rolls thick over the moors and the wind whispers through the gnarled trees, locals warn to keep close to the path and avoid the dark, lest they become prey to the elusive, unyielding shadow known only as the beast. In the dense, eerie woods of Robertson County, Tennessee, the haunting legend of the Bell Witch continues to send chills down the spines of locals. The story began in 1817, when farmer John Bell Sr. and his family became targets of an unseen, malevolent force that seemed born of pure malice. They called it the Witch, and soon the whole town would tremble at her name. The haunting began with strange knocks and scratches echoing through the walls of the Bell home, sounds that grew louder, angrier with each passing night. Shadows twisted on the walls as if mocking the family, and disembodied whispers called out their names, echoing in the pitch-black darkness. But this was no mere ghostly nuisance. The Bell Witch possessed a terrifying intelligence. She could speak, cackling threats in a chilling voice, promising that her revenge was only beginning. The witch delighted in tormenting the Bell children, pulling their hair, pinching them, even slapping them with invisible hands. The air around the farm became thick and oppressive, as though her very presence suffocated life itself. She claimed she had a personal vendetta against John Bell and vowed to destroy him, leaving him sleepless and frail, his mind haunted by her endless taunts. Neighbours and townsfolk witnessed the witch's powers firsthand. Objects moved on their own, and her voice filled the air, sometimes screaming, sometimes laughing with a twisted joy. She could appear in any form she wished, a shapeshifter of pure darkness. In 1821, John Bell was found dead, his face twisted in horror, and a vial of strange, black liquid beside him. The witch claimed victory, declaring that she had poisoned him. Her laughter echoed through the empty halls of the Bell home, a final warning to any who might doubt her power. To this day, the spirit of the Bell Witch is said to haunt the land, her wrathful spirit lingering, waiting in silence for her next victim. In the dark corners of Fairfax County, Virginia, lurks a tale so twisted it leaves a chill, even in the bravest hearts. The legend of the Bunny Man is whispered in hushed tones, a haunting memory of the night he first appeared, a figure in a ragged, filthy rabbit costume, eyes blazing with madness, clutching an axe. It began in 1970, on a cold October night. A young couple parked their car near an old bridge, hoping for a quiet moment alone. Suddenly, they heard a scraping sound, metal dragging against stone, then a bone-chilling voice snarling, "Get off my land." In the dim light, they saw him, the Bunny Man. He lifted his axe high, and with a swift, furious swing, shattered their windshield. Shrieking, the couple sped off, but the image of the crazed man, fur-matted with dirt and blood, etched itself into their minds. Since that night, stories have spread, each one more horrifying than the last. Some say he's the ghost of an escaped asylum patient who hides in the woods, haunting the county in search of revenge. Others claim he's a restless spirit, doomed to stalk the shadows forever, fueled by a rage he can't control. They say that if you dare to visit the bridge at midnight, you might hear the sound of his axe scraping the ground, his ghostly form lingering in the shadows, waiting for another soul to claim. People swear they've seen him, his silhouette under the moonlight, his eyes gleaming from the depths of the forest. And one thing is certain: once you see the Bunny Man, you'll never forget the sight of his axe, the echo of his growl, or the terror that will haunt your dreams. In the chilling legend of the Buckley family, an old, grainy photograph captures a haunting moment that still terrifies those who see it. The black and white image shows two children, a boy and a girl, standing eerily still, their faces expressionless, eyes empty and dark. But beneath this innocent appearance lies a sinister tale, a Halloween night turned nightmare. According to the legend, the Buckley children were quiet and reserved, hardly ever speaking to anyone but each other. On one Halloween night, however, their mother mysteriously disappeared. Neighbours grew suspicious, noticing that the house remained dark and silent, an unsettling quiet hovering over it. Days later, the truth was discovered in a twisted, horrific scene, their mother's body hidden away, with chilling evidence suggesting that the children had murdered her in cold blood. When questioned, the Buckley children claimed they did it for fun, their voices chillingly devoid of remorse. The police could find no rational motive, only a dark emptiness in the children's eyes, a void that seemed to stare right back at them, leaving officers uneasy. It's said that the Buckley children were taken away, their fate unknown, but the photograph remained, a disturbing reminder of that night. Some say that if you look into the children's eyes for too long, you'll feel an inexplicable darkness creeping over you, as though their eerie, hollow stare is reaching out, threatening to pull you into their twisted world. To this day, that haunting image is said to resurface occasionally, appearing in random places, as if the Buckley children are still watching, waiting, perhaps seeking a new victim to haunt. Those who've seen it say never leaves them, a terrifying reminder of innocence twisted into something monstrous, lingering just beyond the frame. In the shadowed woods near Leicestershire, a creature of nightmare prowls, Black Annis, the dreaded blue-faced hag. Cloaked in darkness, her gnarled face is stained a haunting shade of blue, her iron claws gleaming with a terrifying sharpness, honed from years of hunting in the dead of night. Children and townsfolk alike know the tales of her hunger, a twisted craving for human flesh that sends shivers through the village. Black Annis hides in a cave carved from the rocks by her own jagged claws, a lair littered with the remains of her grisly feasts. Animal bones, and some say human bones, line the ground, while the chilling stench of decay fills the air. As dusk falls, she slinks from her den, her clawed hands scratching along tree trunks, leaving deep gouges in the bark. Her piercing eyes, dark and unforgiving, scan the surroundings, searching, waiting. She has a particular taste for children, her long, spindly fingers reaching out to snatch any who wander too close to the edge of the woods. Many parents tell their children tales of Black Annis, warning them not to stray after dark, lest they become her next victim. They say she hides beneath beds or crouches outside windows, her twisted grin visible just beyond the glass, savouring the fear of those trapped inside. Sometimes villagers claim to hear her unearthly wails in the wind, a bone-chilling howl that pierces the night. They say it's her call, a twisted lullaby that drags the unwary toward her grasp. On moonless nights, her figure can be seen creeping through the shadows, her blue face glowing faintly, iron claws poised to strike. Today, the legend of Black Annis still haunts the children of Leicestershire, a ghastly spectre lurking at the edge of nightmares, waiting to snatch anyone who dares defy the tales of her insatiable hunger. In hushed tones and whispered warnings, parents tell the terrifying tale of the Blue Star tattoo. This urban legend claims that beneath the guise of innocent, temporary tattoos lurks a deadly trap, a means of luring children into a nightmare from which they might never wake. Stories circulate of these small, colourful tattoos, often with with a single bright blue star handed out near schools, parks, or community centres. They look harmless, playful even, but these seemingly cheerful designs hide something dark. According to the legend, these tattoos aren't just stickers. They're laced with LSD, designed to seep into a child's skin upon contact, triggering powerful and horrifying hallucinations. The children are left defenceless, their minds plunged into vivid, chaotic visions as the drug takes hold, warping reality into terrifying shapes and colours. Rumours say the drug leaves children not just disoriented, but addicted, trapped in a cycle of hallucination and despair. Some tales are even darker, warning that children who come in contact with the blue star tattoo are never the same, scarred by visions they can't shake, haunted by shadows only they can see. Parents and teachers pass on the warning: if your child comes home with an unfamiliar tattoo, wash it off immediately and seek help. The danger, they say, is real, spreading unseen, like a predator preying on innocence. To this day, the Blue Star tattoo legend continues to instill fear, a sinister story to remind children that sometimes the things that look harmless hold the darkest secrets. And with each new telling, the shadow of the Blue Star spreads, its tale of silent terror lingering like a warning in the back of every parent's mind. In the haunting folklore of the colour culture, there lurks a terrifying creature known as the Boo Hag. Said to be an evil spirit denied rest after death, the Boo Hag is no ordinary ghost. It is a twisted, skinless being, its flesh raw and red, moving like liquid shadow under the cover of night. Devoid of its own skin, the Boo Hag preys on the unsuspecting, slipping into homes unseen, driven by an insatiable thirst for life. Boo Hags are known for one particularly sinister trick. They borrow the skin of the living. When night falls, they seek out their victims, crawling into bedrooms as silent as death itself. The hag hovers over the sleeping, choosing its prey with an unholy patience. When it finds its victim, it peels away their skin, wearing it like a grotesque disguise. In this borrowed skin, the Boo Hag goes out to ride, blending among people by day, feeding off the energy of the living to sustain its unnatural existence. For those haunted by the Boo Hag, waking up is no relief. The hag's touch drains vitality, leaving victims weak, their skin pale, as if life itself has been siphoned away. Some survivors report waking with an inexplicable sense of dread, their bedsheets soaked with sweat and a lingering feeling that something had been there, watching, hungry. But the Boo Hag has weaknesses, and the colour people share warnings for protection. To keep a Boo Hag at bay, one should leave a broom by the door or scatter salt or rice. They say the hag is compelled to count every grain, becoming so obsessed with the task that it loses track of time and must flee before dawn. If caught in daylight, the Boo Hag is trapped, unable to return to its lair before the sun's purifying light burns it away. The most terrifying warning, though, is this: if you wake in the night, feeling short of breath, and sense a shadow hovering close, don't move. trapped its victim forever, pulling them into a world of endless darkness. To this day, the colour people whisper of boo-hags, urging caution to all who dare listen, for the boo-hag is always seeking, always waiting for its next ride, its hollow eyes ever watchful, its red, skinless body creeping through the shadows in search of fresh skin. So, as night falls, be wary, because once the boo-hag finds you, escaping its grasp may be impossible.
In the shadowed alleys of Greenock, Scotland, lurks a figure known only as the Catman, a creature half hidden in mystery and spine-chilling whispers. Since the 1970s, stories of this eerie figure have crept through the town, haunting those who hear them. They say he moves like a ghost, a filthy, gaunt figure with wild eyes that gleam with something both human and unearthly. His hands, calloused and dirt-streaked, reach out to catch his prey, rats, which he devours with chilling primal hunger, blood staining his fingers and lips. But it's not only his taste for rats that stirs terror. The legend claims he lives among wild cats, moving silently alongside them as though he were one of their own. The cats accept him, even protect him, slinking through the shadows as his ghostly guardians. Locals swear that on quiet nights, you can see him crouched low, his face barely visible in the dim light, with wild cats prowling around him in a tight, watchful circle. Rumors say that if you lock eyes with the Catman, you'll feel an unnatural chill, as if he's peering into your soul. Some claim he was once a normal man, driven mad and feral by a life of solitude, or perhaps a restless spirit bound to Greenock streets. Many who have dared to approach him in those dark alleyways have quickly turned back, too shaken by his hollow gaze, feeling the weight of something ancient and unbroken. To this day, people pass the alleys of Greenock with hushed steps, casting wary glances into the darkness, knowing the Catman might be watching, his eyes glinting in the night, waiting.